All right, let's dive into a story that's short, but man, is it powerful. It's about a world that looks just like ours, a quiet little village, but something is about to change. A fundamental balance between us and the wild is about to get completely shattered. And it all starts with this one simple sentence. I mean, think about it. For all of human history, our relationship with animals has been built on their fear of us. But what happens when that just stops? When it evaporates overnight? This is the first crack in the foundation of everything these villagers thought they knew. So how does this new, fearless world first show itself? Well, it's not with a sudden attack or a big, scary roar. Nope. It's with something way more unnerving. It all starts with a quiet, eerie change in behavior. This is where the imbalance really begins.
Seriously, try to picture this. The deer you see at the edge of the woods, the crows on the power lines, the fox you might spot crossing the road. Suddenly, they're not running away anymore. They're just watching, waiting. And there's this look in their eyes, this intelligence, this patience that feels ancient and honestly super creepy. The villagers started to feel the weight of it, and a whole new kind of fear began to set in.
And look, this wasn't just a few random animals acting weird. This was happening everywhere, all at once, like it was coordinated. Wild animals were gathering at the edges of fields, just standing there. The livestock, the cows and sheep, they wouldn't go into their own barns for safety. Even the dogs in the village just sat and stared off into the distance, like they were listening to something no one else could hear. And maybe the most chilling part of all, the birds just stopped singing. Total silence.
But the watching, as unnerving as it was, that was just phase one. Pretty soon, it ramped up into something that looked a lot more deliberate. You got the sense they weren't just observing anymore. It really felt like they were trying to send a message. And this is the moment where things get really wild. It shows a huge shift from just pure instinct to actual intellect. These weren't just some random scratches from a passing animal. The story is very specific. They were patterns. I mean, that suggests something huge. Logic, a purpose, maybe even an attempt at some kind of language. Something was trying to write.
And that's the question that must have just terrified the villagers, right? Because a message you can't understand is almost scarier than a direct threat. It means you're dealing with an intelligence you can't possibly comprehend and a goal you can't predict. What in the world could they be trying to say?
So all this quiet tension, it's been building and building for days, maybe even weeks. And now it's about to snap. The time for quiet observation is officially over. The first big collective action is about to go down.
This scene that plays out next is it's straight out of a movie. It's not a stampede, it's not an attack. It's a silent, perfectly organized gathering of every single animal. We're talking predators and prey, wild animals and farm animals, all standing side by side in the middle of the night. The fact that this is even possible is what makes it so incredibly scary. Can you imagine the feeling? A silent, unblinking stare coming from 1,000 pairs of eyes? That kind of stillness isn't chaos. It's a show of incredible power and control. This isn't the wild, unpredictable nature humans thought they knew. This is a display of unified, disciplined purpose.
And then the other shoe drops. You realize this massive, silent gathering isn't random at all. All of their attention, all of that intense, unified energy was pointed at a single target. One house in the village. The mystery just gets deeper. Why that house? What or who was inside?
So as the villagers are trying to process this totally impossible scene, the search for answers turns inward. They start to look to the people who might remember a different way of seeing the world.
And it turns out an answer comes from inside that very house. The oldest woman in the village, she starts to explain. She says, this isn't an invasion. It's about a promise that was broken. She talks about an old agreement, some kind of pact between humans and nature that kept everything in balance. And we, the humans, have forgotten our side of the deal. So while the old woman gives us the why, it's a child who gives us the what. You know, it's a classic idea. The kid who can still see the truth that adults have learned to ignore. He can't understand their words, but he can feel something deeper, their intent. And it's not aggression, it's a warning.
So the child basically translates what all those animals are thinking. And it's a very simple, very stark ultimatum. The choice now belongs to humanity. Choice number 1, remember the forgotten agreement, fix the balance. Choice number 2, if you don't, well then they begin. And the chilling question of what exactly they will begin just hangs there in the air.
So humanity was given a choice, and in the silence that followed, a decision was made. Or maybe it's more accurate to say the consequences of a long, long history of not making a decision finally showed up with the morning sun. As dawn broke, the time was up. The ultimatum had expired, and the animals started to move. They all stepped forward together, slowly and deliberately. This wasn't a panicked rush. It was the movement of a single, unified being, a living wave, advancing to reclaim what was theirs. And this is the final, devastating conclusion of the whole story. The balance isn't being restored, it's being flipped upside down. The animals have decided that the old agreement is null and void. They're no longer our partners, or our subjects, or even our equals. A new power has taken over, and humanity is no longer at the top of the food chain.
And so we're left with the exact same question the story wants us to ask. What was that forgotten agreement? Was it about respect, about taking only what you need, or was it just about remembering that we are a part of nature, not the masters of it? The story doesn't give us the answer, and it leaves you wondering, are we, in our own world, forgetting something just as important?